I didn't notice anything strange about Mr. Alder on the first day. He looked normal enough, mid-40s, thin build, wireframe glasses, neatly combed hair, the kind of teacher who always smelled faintly of chalk dust and clean laundry, the type you'd forget 5 minutes after class ended. When he walked into the room, the noise didn't stop immediately, but it faded in an unnatural way, like someone slowly turning down a volume knob. "Good morning," he said, smiling gently. Something about that smile made my stomach tighten, though I couldn't explain why. It didn't reach his eyes. He took attendance without a clipboard. No list, no hesitation, just names, spoken calmly, confidently, as if he'd memorized them long before stepping into the classroom. "Ethan? Here. Melissa? Here." Then he paused, eyes lingering on my desk a second longer than the others. "Danny." The room seemed to tilt. No one had called me Danny since my mother died. I go by Daniel," I said, forcing a nervous laugh. He nodded, unfazed. "Of course, my mistake." But as his eyes met mine, his smile widened just enough for me to notice. Not warm, not apologetic, almost satisfied. Over the next week, that uneasy feeling followed me everywhere. Mr. Alder didn't teach like other teachers. He never opened the textbook, never wrote lesson objectives on the board. Instead, he talked, slowly, deliberately, about life, about decisions, about consequences that arrived long after the choice was made. "Every action," he'd say while pacing between the desks, shoes barely making a sound, "creates ripples. Some you see immediately, others wait patiently." Sometimes he'd stop behind a student's chair and speak quietly, as if sharing a private thought. "To be late is a habit, not an accident," he told Melissa one morning. She laughed, but it was forced. "How did you know?" He moved on without answering. Another time, he paused behind Ethan. "You should stop driving so fast on Route 6, he said gently. Ethan stiffened. "I don't." "You do," Mr. Alder replied, cutting him off calmly. "Late at night when you believe no one is watching." The classroom fell silent, the kind of silence that presses against your ears. At lunch, we started comparing stories. Every student had one. Things Mr. Alder shouldn't know, arguments at home, private fears, secrets shared once and never again. I tried to convince myself it was coincidence. The teachers were trained to read behavior, but deep down, I knew this was different. Then he started predicting things. On a Thursday afternoon, right as the bell was about to ring, Mr. Alder stopped speaking mid-sentence. "Tomorrow," he said, slowly, turning toward us, "someone won't be here." We exchanged confused looks. "Sick?" someone asked. Mr. Alder shook his head. "No." The next morning, Melissa's desk was empty. No note, no explanation. Her parents pulled her out of school overnight. Her locker was cleared before lunchtime, like she'd never existed. The following week, Mr. Alder spoke again. "Absences," he said, fingers resting on the desk, "are rarely random." 2 days later, Ethan crashed his car on Route 6. He survived, but just barely. When he returned weeks later, pale, trembling, eyes hollow, Mr. Alder greeted him with a nod. "Welcome back," he said. "You were spared." Ethan didn't sit down. "You knew it," he whispered. "You told me." Mr. Alder didn't deny it. "I warned you." That night I couldn't sleep. The nickname replayed in my head. Danny. My mom used to say it softly when she woke me for school, when she hugged me goodnight. No one else ever used it. I'd never told anyone at school, not friends, not teachers. The next day I stayed after class. "How do you know things about us?" I asked, my voice shaking despite my effort to sound calm. Mr. Alder stacked his papers slowly, methodically. "People leave impressions. Some linger longer than others." "That's not an answer." He looked up, eyes locking onto mine. "You're sensitive," he said softly. "You notice the ripples before they reach the surface." "How do you know my name, the one my mom used?" His expression softened, not with kindness, but with something like pity. "Because she said it often." My breath caught. "You knew my mom?" "No,"
he replied, "but she knew you would need someone watching." I left the room shaking, heart racing, the hallway suddenly feeling too long and too empty. After that, things changed. Mr. Alder began calling roll using unfamiliar names, names that didn't belong to anyone in our class. Sometimes he'd pause, look at an empty seat, and say quietly, "Absent." I started researching in the library, old yearbooks, archived class photos. The names matched. Different decades, same classroom, same desk arrangement. Students listed as transferred or withdrawn. No graduation photos, no follow-ups. I went to the guidance counselor, hands sweating. "There is no Mr. Alder listed in our system," she said after checking twice. "That's impossible," I laughed nervously. "He teaches my class." She checked again, slower. "That classroom has had substitute coverage all semester." Cold spread through me. The next morning, the classroom felt wrong. The air was heavy, stale. The lights flickered even though nothing else in the building was malfunctioning. Mr. Alder stood at the board, writing dates. Past, present, future. Next to each date, a name. My name was there. Tomorrow's date. "What happens to the students who leave?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "They're removed from the pattern," he said calmly. "What pattern?" "The one that ends in suffering. Some paths must be corrected early." "You're hurting people." "I'm preventing worse," he answered. The bell rang. No one moved. "For some of you," he added softly, "class is ending." I ran. I skipped school for days. My parents yelled, threatened. I didn't care. 3 days later, the news reported a fire at the school. Electrical malfunction, the entire classroom wing destroyed. No teacher missing, no bodies found. That room was sealed forever. Years later, I still hear his voice sometimes. Soft, calm. "Danny," it says, "careful where you're headed." I never turn around. Some teachers never stop watching.
Before we continue to the next story, if you're enjoying these real, unsettling stories, take a moment to leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe. It helps this channel more than you think. This isn't a ghost story. No strange phone calls, no shadows at the end of the hallway. This is about what happens when the person meant to protect you is the one you should fear most. It's about my friend's little sister, and the day she never came home. She was 15. Quiet, polite, the kind of kid teachers praised because she listened. She stayed after class to finish assignments, volunteered to help clean up, and believed that adults, especially teachers, were there to guide you, not hurt you. Her favorite teacher was Mr. Harlan. Everyone knew him. Award-winning educator, community volunteer, trusted mentor. Parents trusted him without question. So when she stayed late one afternoon for extra help, no one worried. That was the last time anyone saw her alive outside that school. At first, no one panicked. They thought she missed the bus, thought she was at a friend's house, thought her phone battery had died. By midnight, the police were involved. Search teams combed the streets. Dogs traced her scent from the school parking lot, then lost it near the staff entrance. Flyers went up by morning. Her face spread across social media by noon. Mr. Harlan stood beside her parents during the first press conference. Hands folded, voice shaking, eyes wet. "She was a bright girl," he said. "We all loved her." The investigation moved fast. They searched classmates' phones, checked security cameras, interviewed teachers. Nothing. Then someone noticed something small. She had written Mr. Harlan's name in her notebook. Not unusual, but beside it was a single word, underlined, basement. When detectives asked him about it, he smiled politely. "I tutor students sometimes," he said. "My house has a quiet study room downstairs." He volunteered access immediately. That should have been reassuring. It wasn't. The first search turned up nothing obvious.
Clean house, organized shelves, locked storage rooms. But one officer noticed the smell. Not decay, chemicals, strong enough to sting the eyes. They returned with a warrant. This time, they broke open a sealed door behind a false wall. The basement wasn't a study room. It was soundproofed. They found her there. She had been hidden, cleaned, arranged. Evidence showed she'd been held alive. Mr. Harlan was arrested that night. The town erupted. Parents screamed at the courthouse. Teachers refused interviews. Students cried in classrooms. The headline read, "Beloved teacher charged in student's murder." Everyone thought that was the end. It wasn't. During the deeper investigation, police found more. Hidden compartments beneath the basement floor. 2 more bodies. Both girls. Both last seen after staying late at school. Pattern became impossible to ignore. He hadn't just snapped. He had been planning for years. The psychological evaluation revealed the truth. Mr. Harlan wasn't a predator who lost control. He was a psychopath who understood control perfectly. He chose teaching because it gave him access, authority, trust. He didn't fear suspicion. He depended on it never coming. He kept trophies, notes, schedules. He documented his crimes like lesson plans. At trial, the most disturbing detail came out. He didn't kill out of anger. He killed out of fascination, the power, the silence, the obedience. He enjoyed being trusted most of all. When asked why he became a teacher, he answered calmly, because no one ever questions a role model. He was sentenced to life without parole. The school was renamed, the classroom demolished, his awards quietly removed. But the damage didn't end. My friend's family moved away. Her mother never entered a school building again, and her little sister became a warning whispered in town, not a child remembered. Sometimes people ask why stories like this scare me more than ghosts. Because monsters like him don't hide. They teach, they smile, they wait, and they only need one day when a child doesn't come home.
The first thing everyone noticed about the substitute was how early he arrived. Every morning, before the halls filled with noise, before lockers slammed and voices echoed, he was already there, standing inside the classroom, hands folded behind his back, staring at the chalkboard like he was remembering something written there long ago. His name was Mr. Calder. That's what he wrote on the board the first day. No first name, just Mr. Calder. His handwriting looked old-fashioned, sharp and precise, like something copied from a textbook printed decades ago. "He's just filling in for a week," our homeroom teacher told us. "Be respectful." None of us thought much of it. At first. Mr. Calder spoke differently than any teacher I'd had before. His voice was calm, steady, almost soothing, but there was something underneath it, something tired, like he'd been repeating the same sentences for far too long. He didn't ask us questions. He didn't encourage discussion. He lectured, not from the textbook, but from memory. Dates, names, historical events, things he recalled instantly, without notes, without hesitation. When someone corrected him, he didn't argue. He just smiled slightly and continued, as if the correction didn't matter. The strange part was his clothing. Every day, the same dark suit, same tie, same polished shoes. Not a wrinkle, not a stain, like time didn't touch him. By the end of the first week, someone asked when their real teacher was coming back. Mr. Calder paused, chalk hovering near the board. "She won't," he said simply. Monday turned into Tuesday, Tuesday into Friday. Mr. Calder was still there.
No announcement, no explanation. When someone asked the office, they said a substitute was assigned, but couldn't remember for how long. The paperwork was being processed. We joked about it, called him permanent substitute. But things started feeling wrong. He never left the classroom. Not once did we see him enter or exit. No one spotted him in the hallways. No one saw him in the parking lot. He was just always there. One afternoon, I stayed late to grab a book I'd forgotten. The lights were dimmed, the halls empty. When I passed our classroom, Mr. Calder was still standing at the board, writing, teaching, to empty desks. The lessons changed after that. He stopped teaching the assigned material. Instead, he spoke about former students. Not by name at first. Some students struggle, he said one day, pacing slowly between desks. Some fail to learn, others refuse. He stopped behind a desk near the window. Those students, he continued, often require extra instruction. The next morning, that seat was empty. The student assigned to it had transferred schools overnight. No warning, no goodbye. A week later, another desk went empty. Then another. Mr. Calder never acknowledged it. He just adjusted the seating chart, pushing desks closer together, filling the gaps like they were never there. One day, he brought in an old class photo. Black and white, yellowed at the edges. "This was taken in this very room," he said. The students stared. Same chalkboard, same windows, same layout. At the center of the photo stood a teacher, Mr. Calder. Same face, same expression. The date written on the back was from over 40 years ago. Someone laughed nervously. "That's fake." Mr. Calder tilted his head. "Is it?" he asked. I started paying attention to attendance. Every morning, Mr. Calder called roll from memory. Every morning, a few names didn't belong to anyone present. When I asked him about it after class, he looked almost amused. "Not everyone arrives at the same time," he said. "Some take longer." That night, I searched old school records online. I found transfer logs, withdrawal forms, missing student reports, all connected to the same classroom, all spanning decades, always during substitute coverage, always unresolved. The final straw came on a Friday. Mr. Calder wrote a single word on the board: retention. "Some students," he said calmly, "must repeat lessons until they are learned properly." "What happens if they don't?" someone asked. He smiled. "They stay." The bell rang. No one moved. "You're dismissed," he said finally. But as we stood, he added, "except for those who need additional instruction." 3 students remained frozen in their seats. Their names were called, one by one. They didn't scream, they didn't resist. They just stayed. Over the weekend, the school announced renovations. Our classroom was sealed, moved to another wing. They said it was structural damage. Mr. Calder was never mentioned again. But sometimes, late at night, security footage shows a light on in that sealed room, and a man standing at the board, teaching, waiting.